There's nothing petite about Petite Sirah.
Like Petite Sirah.
It's oxymoron.
Yeah, it pretty much is. I mean, Petite Sirah is one of the most bodacious wines that we can make. You know, when I first discovered it in the 70s and then started working with it in the 1980s, being a winemaker, I was just blown away with how big a wine could be. They weren't necessarily balanced wines, but they were just immense wines because there are huge extractable compounds in the skins, which, you know, you and I experience as body, flavor, structure, color, aromatics, and so forth. But, you know, Petite Sirah, there's a misconception that petite, in this case, means small, tiny, and some association with tiny berry size. Petite Sirah grapes are large. They're like a doe's eye. They're almost as large as a Charbonneau grape. Petite Sirah was an old name given to this grape variety, which was sort of accidentally discovered in France in the 1870s. They called it Petite Sirah, meaning a lesser Syrah. It was akin to Syrah, but it was not the same. And of course, they didn't really know what it was and didn't find that out until 2003 at UC Davis. But Petite Sirah was lesser Syrah, less important. And in fact, it was eradicated from France fairly systematically. Fortunately for us in California, it landed here and it landed in South America and also Australia. So we kept the variety alive. It was important pre-Prohibition and post-Prohibition in the red or mixed black field blends that were predominant around here because it adds color, it adds structure, it adds alcohol. You know, it adds a lot of oompa to anything you blend with it. So.
Well, Petite Sirah, for us, it's more of a family heritage. The property where we grow our fruit has actually been in our family since 1914. It was my great-grandfather that bought the property. We have actually 2 blocks of Petite Sirah that we're growing today. We have an older block of Petite. It's about 2.5 acres. It's dry farmed. My dad remembers planting that block as a kid. So that block's got to be about 60-plus years old. We took the budwood from that old block and planted a newer block of Petite in 1995, and that's about it. It's just shy of 2 acres. It is irrigated, but when we embarked upon our own family wine project, my dad, my grandma before him, they were always farmers in the Napa Valley growing fruit and selling the fruit to other wineries. And so when I started Switchback Ridge, there was definitely a family connection and inspiration for wanting to produce a Petite Sirah because it was actually my great aunt that was bedridden and blind. She was like a second mother to me. And, you know, when she passed away in 1995, nobody wanted Petite Sirah. I mean, there was a couple years before she passed away that there was, for some reason, the fruit, she didn't even get paid for it. Yeah. So she passed away in 1995, and all of a sudden, Petite Sirahs become fashionable again. And even back then, I had kind of said to myself, someday I'd like to make a wine kind of in her honor, in her memory. And ever since then, there's been kind of now a new interest in Petite Sirah. At one point, Petite Sirah plantings in California were at about 14,000 acres, and at the time she died, I think Petite was at an all-time low at only about 1,700 acres total. So definitely, Petite has a special place in my heart.
Yeah.